We are in week 2 of a series on emotions. Today we are diving in on envy and jealousy and looking at the comparison trap. There's this tendency that we all have to look at the person to my left and to my right to see if I'm doing okay. We look at other people to determine our worth, our success, and whether we become resentful of people if they have something you want to have. We look down on ourselves. We just have this tendency to compare ourselves. And it's the sort of thing that you think that you'll grow out of. That when you're young, you're figuring yourself out, so you compare yourself. But when I get older, I'll stop doing that. When I get married, when I have kids, I'll stop doing that. But no. I'm in my 40s, been married almost 20 years, have 3 kids. One of them's right there causing trouble. And still, my tendency is always to look at other people to determine if I'm doing okay. And that leads to these feelings of envy and jealousy. Like I remember way back when I was in elementary school, I had a friend named Brandon Aarons. And he was an only child. And his dad made a lot of money. So I'd go over to his house, and he didn't have one room for himself. He had 2 rooms for himself, because he had a room where he slept, and then he had a room for all of his toys, an entire room for his toys. So you'd walk into it, and I thought I had a lot of Star Wars figures and G.I. Joes. No, he had like the whole collection, plus he had like the spaceship, he had Castle Grayskull, he had all of the things. He had all of the Nerf weapons. And then I thought I had a nice collection of Nintendo games. In fact, so proud of it to this day, 35 years later, I still have my collection of Nintendo Entertainment System games. A couple of these I actually bought in Hong Kong, so they don't play on an American system. But I literally traveled the world to get some of my collection. But I have a bread box of Nintendo games. A bread box. He had like a whole wall of every possible Nintendo game that you could want. So I'd go over to his house, and on the one hand, I'd have so much fun. And on the other hand, I was so envious of everything that he had. This feeling of, I want it, why don't I have everything that he has? That sense of envy that we naturally have, we gravitate towards comparing ourselves to other people. I've got a lot of cool stuff, but he has more cool stuff. Or sometimes it comes in the form of jealousy. So I played basketball, baseball in elementary school, middle school, got pretty good at baseball in middle school, and then tried out for the high school baseball team. Thought I was pretty good, but I also was really lazy. And as it turns out, high school coaches don't particularly like lazy people. So despite me thinking I was awesome, the coaches did not think I was awesome. So I didn't even make the first cut. Like just immediately they're like, you're the laziest person I've ever seen. You're out of here. Cut. Barely got to even show what I could do because I didn't try at all. But my immediate thought was like, well, I'm better than him and I'm better than that guy. And like, I'm faster than that person. But I didn't try. But all I could think of was how jealous I was that they were able to take something, that position on the team that I wanted. So we just always have this tendency not to look at ourselves, but we look at other people and compare ourselves to determine if I'm doing okay. And these 2 words, envy and jealousy, it's really easy to blend them together and don't they mean kind of the same thing? They actually mean quite different things, but they're in the same ballpark. So envy, if we're going to put a definition on this, should have a slide for this. I don't know if you can see that when there's that many words. Envy is the emotion you feel when you want something that someone else has. You have it, I want it. That's envy. It can be possessions, qualities, achievements, advantages, often includes feelings of resentment. You have something I want, and therefore I resent you because you have it. Wanting what someone else has, or that emotion type, it's a desire. So we talk about our emotions come from God, like we're made this way. Desiring something, that's not sinful. Just having ambitions, wanting things, that's fine. But when you have this resentment in it, that it's I covet, I want what someone else has, that's where it turns into something more toxic, something unhealthy. And so if you kind of look at some of these boxes I put on here, this is one of the more dangerous sermon illustrations I've done. You look at some of the things that we have, where you look at other people, and they'll have followers, looks, family, friends, grades, talent, sports, perfect life, video games. They've got the MetaQuest 4 and you've only got the 2. And you look at what they have and you want it. They have more friends. They get better grades. And you look at other people and that thing that they have and you want it. You want their thing. And one of the other ideas that it has about psychologically about envy, psychologists describe envy as the social comparison emotion. And that's specifically one of the flavors of envy, is that I'm comparing myself. You have it, I don't. And it arises when you perceive that someone else is doing better than you in some area where your self-esteem comes from. And that's a key concept in here of envy. It's not just that you want something else, but the reason the resentment comes in because it ties into something that like you really want, the perfect life. You want a happy life, healthy family, like something that's reasonable, like stable life. Like you really want that, and you resent someone else because they have it. Wanting a good life is not a bad thing. Resenting someone else, you value it, and therefore you hold it against other people if they have what you want. You want to be a specific position on the sports team. You want to get onto varsity. Like you value that. Your identity comes from playing sports, your performance in sports, and someone else gets what you want. Your identity comes from it. Therefore, you envy what someone else has. The other word is jealousy. I found a poem recently. Comparison is killing me slowly. I think too much about kids who don't know me. I'm so sick of myself. I'd rather be anyone else. My jealousy. This, in fact, the poem misunderstands the definition of jealousy because this is actually more envy. But if you were to say, turn this into a song that my daughter would introduce me to, it wouldn't rhyme quite as well. But the idea of comparison is more the concept of envy more so than jealousy. But if we want to put our definition of jealousy up on the screen, if you don't know, those were Olivia Rodrigo lyrics. As a huge fan, I of course introduced my whole family to Olivia Rodrigo, like a normal man in my 40s. But anyway, jealousy, our definition, is an emotion that arises when one feels threatened by the possibility of losing something to another. It typically involves fear, insecurity, resentment towards a perceived rival. Psychologically, it can be the signal of something important is at risk. We talked about last week, God is a jealous God. Jealousy, I think envy inherently has a little bit more of an inherently sinful flavor to it, whereas jealousy has very righteous versions of it. God is a jealous God because he perceives that we are turning to something other than him. Something's at risk. A righteous relationship with God is at risk. So God can be a jealous God righteously. A husband, a wife can be jealous if their spouse is doing things they should not be doing with other people. That's a righteous jealousy. And then jealousy can be also that we feel like we're owed something. We're losing something that we're not actually entitled to. And it can have that toxic version to it, where we're just have these things that we're just afraid of losing because our identity is found in them. That like the ideas of insecurities, something important to me, that perfect life, it's so important to me and I'm afraid of losing it. You go through things like that position on the team, that position in band. I'm afraid of losing because this is my identity, that my foundation in life is built on. I am sports guy, I'm band person. I'm pretty, I'm athletic, I'm strong, I'm whatever it is, I'm successful on social media. You find that is where your identity is found and you're afraid of losing it. And you compare yourself to other people who are succeeding in that area where you are nervous. So to kind of play this out, we end up started doing this game of We want more If we can put this chart up here, we compare ourselves. Use these words: rich skinny smart strong tall prettier, happier, hip talented That's not really a word. Liked popular. That's actually spelled differently. But you have all of these words, and we compare ourselves. They have more than us. They're smarter, faster. Whatever it is, we compare ourselves and fall into this comparison trap to decide if I'm doing okay. And social media has just turned this comparison game into an absolute nightmare, because it literally gives you an objective number that you can compare to. You look at the number of likes, the number of followers, and you go, they've got more than me. They got more views than me, more likes, more followers, whichever criteria you want to do. It's all public, and you're just sitting there with an immediate comparison that is objective, and you're just trying to decide, am I doing okay based off other people? If you don't know, I do YouTube for a living. And so my entire life is based off of metrics on social media. That's how I make my living. And it's so easy to look at other people and go, their review got more views than mine. Or I'm in a space where I'm starting to get opportunities interviewing celebrities and things like that. It's really easy to look at some of my friends were at an event and they got to interview Chris Pratt and Glenn Powell over this last few days. Massive movie stars, they're close friends of mine. We're in the same space. We've been to the same events doing interviews. And they got to interview big, gigantic movie stars, and I haven't gotten to do that yet. And they get these opportunities that I don't get. And I start comparing myself, am I doing okay? And the only reason I know they had those interviews is because of social media, because I saw them post a picture of it. But the other thing we all know about social media, where we see someone that looks prettier or stronger or leaner on social media, we also know that that's a fabricated version of someone's life. It's their highlight reel. It's the parts of their life they want to share with you, with filters on it, with the perfectly selected picture to look their absolute best. But social media is this perfectly optimized view of someone's life to make you perceive of them a very specific way. And we compare ourselves to that. Or phrase it this way, we compare our blooper reel. You know what you look like when you wake up in the morning. You know the fight you had with your sister this morning and how crazy and chaotic it was. You know every stupid thing that you do. And then you look at someone else and all you see is their highlights. Literally the minutes they went, this is the best thing I did, the most interesting I did, and I want to share it. And you compare the two. Your blooper reel, every dumb thing you've ever done, to their perfect version of their life that they've perfectly optimized on the internet. But we start doing this comparison game where whatever your category is, whatever the thing is that you find your stability, your worth, your value in, you look at other people and you keep chasing after it. And this can lead you to do all sorts of stupid things. You want to fit in with a group of friends, but maybe they're doing things that you know you shouldn't be doing, but you want to fit in with them, so you join in. You have a group of friends that you don't want to be bullied by them, so you join in the bullying, so you're not bullied by them. You know you shouldn't do that, but you don't want to be the target. And so all of a sudden you compromise your values to be able to fit in and get that thing, that relationship, so you can be in a more popular group of friends. Some of it gets kind of funny where, like I said, I live in the world of movies, watching movies. There's celebrities that their life is built around their appearance and trying to look as young as possible. So as they get older, they just keep doing more and more crazier and crazier plastic surgeries. So this is Madonna. She's in her 60s. And so this picture on the right is her trying to look as young as possible in her 60s. And so they do these fillers where they just pump their face full of stuff where you literally fill your face up with something so your face looks like a balloon. Instead of looking like a dignified woman looking older, she looks like a human balloon version of her face where she's just fighting aging, that we're all going to age. But that's because her identity is found in her looks and in youth and being perceived a specific way, and just can't accept aging. Or a similar kind of idea, a guy named Simon Cowell, very normal looking guy back 20 years ago. And then You can look up Simon Cowell. There are countless images of Simon Cowell and the very strange way that he looks now. Like, you could just look it up. There were countless images, all different versions of the same thing. But, like, did stuff to try and, like, look younger with his eyes. He got those fillers once again. You can see, like, the puffy cheeks. And it looks like both the guy's face is melting, but it's also, like, overly inflated. And you go, dude, what are you doing? Just age. We're all going to do it. Moisturize, sure, whatever. It's not trying to look nice, but like these desperate attempts to try and look younger, handsomer, whatever it is, we go to these desperate lengths. And so often it just has catastrophic results. But so these comparisons can go in negative directions where we start going, well, I'm heavier, slower, shorter, poorer, nerdier, dumber. And we do a negative comparison. And these comparisons like start to identify ourselves in these negative ways. And they're just traps that the way that we perceive of ourselves can be absolutely catastrophic. These little comparison traps. These are actually, was afraid during the game someone would put their hand on the table and then we'd lose a finger. Everyone would remember that Sunday. But also, my wife is worried as I do this that this might actually shoot a piece of pencil into one of your eyes. But so you might want to be careful of that potentially happening. But we all fall into these comparison traps where these different words we use to compare ourselves to other people and trying to think if I'm okay or not. But the reality is when you do these games,
my eye!
Two at once. That was nice. These little comparison traps end up being things that absolutely wreck us on the inside. That they don't actually, you don't gain anything from it. You just rot yourself and poison yourself. If you want to skip ahead a couple slides on here to where it says Proverbs 14. A heart at peace gives life to the body, but envy, looking at other people, determining my worth based off other people, what they have, rots the bones. That's all I have. So you can be, I've been anxious the whole time waiting for these things to snap mid-talk, but they're done now. But envy rots the bones. Bones rotting. Why? Because of these comparison traps, these little comparison games that we do. When I look to someone else to determine if I'm doing okay, it's toxic for me. Takes away my peace, my tranquility. Envy rots the bones. If you go back to the last chart we have on here, this plays out one more way. What if you succeed? You're not just an you're an ist. Richest, smartest, happiest, fastest, healthiest, coolest, retweetedest. These words are made up. Most popular, likedest, whatever it is. Pick your thing. What if you make it? Your first chair. You made the team. You're the one that got first in race. You're the quarterback. Whatever it is, you won the game, most points. Go down the list. You have the highest grade, number one in your class. You are the ist. Now you have to keep it up. And there's this pressure. How long can I keep this up? How can I stay ahead of everybody? And you can't even enjoy it because you have the anxiety of the pressure of maintaining being at top. John D. Rockefeller was the richest man in the United States back 130 years ago. He's worth $1.5 billion, which was roughly 2% of all the wealth in the United States at the time. Someone asked him, how much money is enough? And he answered, well, just a little bit more. It's more money than anybody. 2% of all wealth. And it didn't satisfy. He's doing the comparison game. He's not just won. He's won by a landslide. And all he can think is, I need a little bit more. Envy rots the bones. One of our big ideas of the day, there is no win in comparison. It is a trap. If you're looking to the left and the right to decide if you're okay, it is a trap. In Ecclesiastes 4, this is Solomon is writing. wisest man. He has a bunch of ist. Wisest man, richest man, most powerful man. He's the king. And he's commenting on this idea of envy, toil, and everything we work for. And he says, and I saw that all toil, all work, all achievement sprang from one person's envy of another. This is 3,000 years ago. Not much has changed. He's looking at it, he goes, the reason people keep doing these crazy things, modern day, getting the plastic surgery, modern day, going into crazy debt to have the right car, the right vehicle, compromising your values to try and fit in with a group of friends, whatever it is, the reason people do all these crazy things, like even in high school, you tried so much pressure to be way high in your class, so you're hopped up on Adderall to do better in your grades. The crazy things people do to get more to get an ist, it all comes from envy. Looking at other people and comparing yourself. And he says, this is meaningless. It's chasing after the wind. You can't catch the wind. You can chase. I was going to try and do an illustration of that and get a gigantic. You can't do it. Doesn't work. But also get another illustration, but I had enough. But you have a cup. There's a hole in the bottom of it. It can never stay full. You can keep pouring water into it, and it'll keep emptying out. You have to keep pouring more and more and more and more and more into it. That's all of these things. There's always someone else you can compare to. There's always more compliments to get. You're never satisfied. You never arrive. All of these things, chasing after them to be your satisfaction, to be your point, your foundation, it's chasing after the wind. Even if you get an ist, even if you're the best, you have to maintain it. And you have to keep pouring more and more in. It's chasing after the wind. People magazine has something called the sexiest man of the year. Goes back about 40 years ago. The first sexiest man of the year, Mel Gibson. I believe he had 2 different times that he won. No one has won multiple years in a row. Nobody's ever won 3. You could achieve it, but no one's been able to keep it. And then if you look at him now, it's 40 years later, he's just another 70-year-old man. Time catches up with everybody. To his credit, he is not cranked full of fillers, plastic surgery, and every other crazy thing. To his credit, he's aged, yes. So don't mean to pick on the guy. But at the same time, he couldn't keep it up. He didn't have a 40-year streak as the sexiest, most handsome man alive. It's chasing after the wind. It's not bad that he won, but if that's your obsession, if your whole identity is keeping your ist, your the comparison, it's chasing after the wind. It's trying to pour liquid into a cup with a hole in the bottom of it. It won't stay full. You can't catch the wind. But he goes, you might fire back like, wait a minute. Okay, so you're saying you shouldn't have ambition? It's bad to have desires and wants. It's bad to... No. He says, fools fold their arms and ruin themselves. The fool does nothing. The fool has no ambition. It's just like, all right, nothing matters. What he's not saying is ambition is bad. Like wanting to have a good life is not a bad thing. Desiring to do well in sports in and of itself is not a bad thing. Having a great job is not a bad thing. Being talented, it's not a bad thing. It's not trying to improve yourself isn't the thing that's the problem. It's the comparison trap. The bad part is when I'm determining if I'm doing okay by looking at what you're doing. The bad part is building the foundation of my life, my value, my worth, my identity on how many followers I have on social media. If you do that, that is the bad part. That's when the comparison trap, the envy poisons you. But having ambitions, trying to be successful, that's not the problem. And he goes into his big kind of final statement. If I can turn my page in my notes. There we go. Better one hand with tranquility than 2 hands with toil and chasing after the wind. It says, it's better to be happy and grateful for what you have than to spend your whole life envying and chasing having 2 handfuls. Like, be grateful. Look at what I have, all of the blessings I have. Be thankful, grateful for it. Don't live your whole life desperately chasing after having two handfuls. Learn to be content. Stop chasing after the wins. So for me, I mentioned I do YouTube for a living. I started it literally on a whim. No ambitions. It's just like I just shot a movie review after a date night. And whatever ambitions I had when I started, I have skyrocketed past them exponentially, beyond my wildest dreams. I'd never had 1,000 followers on anything. Now I have 300,000 just on YouTube and over 400,000 with everything else combined. Literally hundreds of times more than anything I could have dreamed of when I started. But that didn't suddenly satisfy me. Like hitting 1,000 followers was like, this is awesome. And then I looked at someone else that had 10,000 followers. And then I got 10,000 and I went, but someone else has 100,000. It's so easy to ignore the fact of I've achieved so much more. See, one hand tranquility. Look at it and go, this is amazing that God has allowed me to have this. Be peace with that. But then there's this version where I just keep looking and go, well, I've got 300,000, but Mr. Beast has 400 million. And you go like, well, that's not even a percentage. That's not even close to a percent. And we do that comparison game, and all of a sudden, I'm robbed of the joy of everything I have achieved. I had a friend of mine back when I was, senior in high school, going into, right out of high school. We worked at the same fast food place. He had a job he enjoyed with friends there, had a Jeep that he enjoyed. We got in a group of friends where they drove sports cars. So he went, I need to get a sports car. So he bought a $30,000 sports car. This is 25 years ago. So 30,000, 25 years ago is 50,000. But he got it on sale. So it was only $20,000, so like 40,000 today. And he's like, yeah, it was a great deal, and man, it's awesome. The problem is, when you worked at fast food, you did not make he made like $18,000 a year at his job, had a car worth $20,000. So all of a sudden, he had to get a second job to pay for the car. Instead of being like, happy, I've got a cool Jeep. He went, no, but my friends have sports cars. And so he goes into severe debt, has to get a second job because he's toiling, chasing after more. There's so many ways that we do this comparison game. We envy what someone else has, and all of a sudden we chase after it. Or one final little quick example. When I was in college, I finally figured out how to do school right. I was terrible in high school. College, I figured it out, got a psychology test back, had an A+. I was like, this is awesome. But then some way I found out someone had a slightly higher grade than me. I was like, man, I'm the bestest in class. I'm the smartest in class. I have the highest grade in class. Till I found out there was a girl named Robin who actually had the highest grade in the class. And I was like, oh, how did she beat me? Instead of having tranquility with the fact that I had an A+, all I could look at was the comparison, fall into the trap, and feel like I'd lost something. I was jealous. I've lost the number one spot. Rob myself of any sort of sense of accomplishment in getting an A+. It's the comparison trap. But as we close out, there's no win in comparison. So just think, where do you compare yourself? Where are the places where you naturally look at other people to find out if I'm doing okay? It's different for everybody. We all have different ways where we find our stability, our identity in these different boxes and fall into different comparison traps. But there's one more thing behind the problem with this comparison game. What we talked about from the very beginning is that you find your self-esteem, you find your identity in these different categories. And the thing is, grades are not meant to be the foundation of your life. Grades are not meant to be where you find your worth, your sense of importance. Position in band is not supposed to be where your identity comes from. What do we got? Looks, your appearance. Definitely don't want to lock on this one because you're going to get older. It's going to fade, and either you're going to look crazy trying to chase youth or just get older like a normal person. If this is your identity, this is not meant to sustain the weight of life. It can't do it. And there's things like family. It's good to want a solid family. But families have turmoil too. And so it's not that these are bad things, but they are not meant to be the foundation of your life. It says in Ecclesiastes 3:11, he has set eternity in the human heart. That the way that we're wired is that there's like this eternal hole in us. In all of the grades, compliments, followers, they can't fill up an eternal void. An eternity of compliments doesn't exist. An eternity of good moments does not exist. They can't fill that void. One way, common illustration people use for it is the idea of a God-shaped hole. I bought this little toy for this illustration, and I was like sticking my hand in to try and pull the pieces out. And then Karis, my 7-year-old, goes, "Dad, there's a door on the bottom of it," because the 7-year-old understands how toys work better than me. So she maybe should have taught this lesson. But this is classic kids' toy. You've got the box with the different holes cut into it with the different shapes, and you have to find which piece goes into which shape. And you can't put the wrong piece into it, but you have to find the right spot that fits in perfectly. This guy will not go into anything besides the one spot. And we have an eternal hole, or as people phrase it, a God-shaped hole in our soul. The only piece that can fit, only piece that goes into the God space-shaped hole is God. That's the only one. That's where satisfaction comes from. That's where peace comes from. And so long as you're trying to cram all of these in to find satisfaction and worth and value, these are not designed for the God-shaped hole. They're not enough to fill the eternal void. They can't do it. So you'll always need more and more and more. Because we were designed for God. And right along those exact same lines. One, we could put our final principle up here. Our envy and jealousy come from building our foundation on the wrong things. This can't be, sports can't be what you build your life on. Let's borrow these from my mother-in-law, so I'm going to try not to smash them. We can break pencils, but boxes, don't want to fight with the in-laws. This can't sustain the weight of life. It's not meant to. Your talents aren't designed to be the foundation. They're all the same box, so I'd probably not smashing them. But these are not designed for that purpose. But what if you had a different foundation? What if the table is God? What if the table, the foundation, is God? And what you build your life on and find your foundation in, it's this guy that's been here the whole time. The table represents God. And you build your life on a solid foundation. The one that's designed. You got a God-shaped hole? Build your life on God. That actually can satisfy. Then all this other stuff, God designed clothes, looking nice, compliments to be wonderful. We're designed to have talents, to have ambitions. That's good, but they're not designed to be the foundation. They go on top of the, not that one. They go on top of the foundation. They're supposed to be on here, something that can sustain life. And if you build your life on this and you lose something that you really matter, you lose band, your lips fall off. You can't play your instrument anymore. You lose band. Don't know how that would happen. Now I want to know if that's ever happened, that someone was the best at band and then their lips fell off. But whatever it is, that's bad. But if this is your foundation, God, you're okay. It's disappointing. Like losing, like if tomorrow all of your hair falls out. Right, this you whoa. Are you devastated or are you disappointed? Devastated. Should your life be built on having hair? Probably not. And you stop and think about it, you go, wait, why would I be devastated? Like, I get it, hair's nice, but why would your life be built on having hair? And you stop and think, what does that mean? Unpack that. But go through it. What are those things that you built your life on that aren't designed to sustain life? Because things happen all the time that take away these things. And they're not bad things. It's not bad to enjoy them. But they're not meant to be the foundation your life is built on. So 2 final things on here. How do you battle envy and jealousy? Build your foundation on Christ. Build it on something that is designed and meant to sustain life through all circumstances, good and bad. So we talk about it's written on the wall, all of life for all of life. Build all of your life on Christ. And these are just the blessings on top of it. They're not the foundation. Second one, build a daily practice of gratitude. Daily, just be thankful and grateful for all of the blessings in your life. Just daily be like, wow, I live in a house that has air conditioning. 150 years ago, no one had air conditioning. You assume you're always going to have air conditioning. Right there, you should be grateful. You have running water. For a long time, people did not have running water. Some people still don't have running water. Right there. And you go through the list of things you can be grateful for, but we're so quick to look at what other people have that we don't have. And so often we do this comparison game. We build our lives on envy. So remind yourselves daily, build my life on Christ and be grateful for all the blessings that we have, all that we've achieved. Build a daily practice of gratitude.